including this great school, you can literally feel the future being made, because the young people in school today are our future, and our future can only be as good as the education we give them during their days of schooling, which is why I'm so focused now on making sure not only here in New South Wales but right around the country we're lifting the quality of schooling, and we're making sure that our teachers and kids and classrooms are properly resourced for generations and generations to come. We also want to be investing too on the things that give all of us the reassurance that if something went wrong, then there would be someone there to help. We've made big investments in healthcare, in doctors and nurses, more local control of healthcare services, more GPs in your community, because none of us knows when we're going to need the healthcare service, and all of us want to know that if we should need it or a family member should need it, that the healthcare services in our local community would be up to meeting our needs. But we've recognised that beyond providing healthcare, beyond our great Medicare system, which we're very proud that Labor built, we now need to build the next big institution of fairness in our society, and that's disability care, so that we are, thank you, so that we are better supporting people with disability and not leaving them to rely on what is a fragmented and underfunded system. Now, that makes a difference for around 410,000 Australians now, but actually it makes a big difference for all of us for the future, because disability is one of those things too. It's just one of life's chances, and none of us here knows whether during the course of our lifetimes we'll end up with a disability, or during the course of our lifetimes one of our family members will end up with a disability. So making sure we better provide for people with disabilities is a great reassurance and backstop for all of us. These are the big things that we've been working on as a government, but we come out to Community Cabinet, and this is our 41st Community Cabinet, because we want to hear your feedback and get your views and hear your questions about things that are on your mind and are, very much at the front of what you're thinking about in your local community. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you now. If you would like to ask a question, just please raise your hand. What I'll do is I'll rotate through, so I'll take someone towards the back, someone towards the front, and then come over to this block. Please wait until a staff member comes to you with a microphone so we can all hear your question, and just let the staff member hold that microphone for you. So over to you. Can we hear some questions now? Now I'm going to take the boy here. Yes, you. Now I can hear the collective intake of breath of my colleagues at this point, because they know from the other 40 community cabinets that the hardest questions always come from children. So I've started at what may well be the hardest point. What's your name?
My name's Ahmed Sari from Malikrad Islamic School.
Oh, lovely to meet you. And what's your question?
My question is, what's it like being Prime Minister? And if you weren't Prime Minister, what would you be?
What's it like being Prime Minister? Well, maybe one day you're going to find out. With that much confidence to ask a question in a meeting like this, that's very impressive. What's it like being Prime Minister? Well, it's full of responsibility and full of work, and you do feel that weight on your shoulders. I certainly feel it on my shoulders. And for all the things that we do in public with people there and TV cameras and photographers and all the rest, there's all the countless hours of work that happen in the cabinet room or doing paperwork that people don't see but really make a difference too. So it's a big job, it's a big responsibility, but it's a delightful opportunity to look at your country and, country we all love, look at your country and say, as good as it is now, what would make it better for the future? To think about that, to identify that, to work out what would make a difference, to implement it, and then to see the difference it's making. And one of the real delights of this job is I can go to schools now where I can literally say that classroom has got more children reading and writing in it because of things that we've done. and I can go to a hospital with Tanya and I can see a new cancer care clinic or a refurbished emergency department because of things that we've done. Or I can stand with Stephen Conroy and watch the fibre being pulled through and know that we're seizing part of the future we should have as a country because of decisions that we've made. And that's the real delight in it, actually seeing and making change. So for all of the, problems that come with it, and there are the occasional problem, for all the problems that come with it, that's the delight in it. If I hadn't been doing this now, well, of course, I used to be a lawyer, but when I was your age, if anybody asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I always said I wanted to be a teacher. And I've kind of combined being Prime Minister with being in schools a lot, so I've sort of made it all come true. So thank you very much for your question. We'll go to someone towards the back now. Yes, you, sir. Yes, you. Thank you.
Prime Minister, we're doing well as far as spending on education, which is $5 billion, infrastructure, health, industry. Now, this money has to come from somewhere. Are we, or the Honourable Prime Minister, is willing to raise taxes? Because there is a lot of talk about lifting the GST tax. In times like this, I think families cannot afford something like this because this is a direct tax, and we should be able to look at other venues if there is a tax hike somewhere or a tax rise somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to go to the Treasurer for some comments, but before I do, let me say this. I absolutely agree with you. Families could not afford to pay more GST, and we won't do that. You probably remember, some of the younger people in the audience mightn't, but you probably remember that when Prime Minister Howard proposed the GST, we opposed it as a Labor Party. We opposed it because it's a regressive tax. That is, it falls because people on lower incomes, middle incomes have got tighter margins in their life. They're the ones who feel the pressure of it the most, rather than upper income earners. So from our view of life, our values, we thought it wasn't a good tax, so we opposed it then. Once it was imposed across the economy, then there was no unscrambling that egg. So the GST that Mr Howard introduced is in operation. But we do not believe, as a matter of Labor values, in increasing its rate or broadening its base. We will not do that. I'll turn to the Treasurer to talk to you about the way in which we're financing some of the things that are really important to us.
Thanks very much, Prime Minister. We understand that it's really important that people who work hard get a fair go in the tax system, and if they work a few extra hours, they get a few extra dollars in the pocket and don't lose it all in tax. And that's one of the reasons why the government is so proud of the fact that we tripled the tax-free threshold. We tripled it in our last budget, and what that means is you don't pay $1 of tax until you earn $18,000. And that has meant so much to so many people on modest incomes in our community, and in particular to working women. Now, you asked a question about revenue overall, and it is the case that as a country we have to raise the money to pay for all those services, to pay for hospitals, to pay for education. And it's important we get the balance right, that we have a level of revenue that enables us to provide services to families as well, because it's not just what you earn when you go to work and what you pay out of your pay packet. It's also the quality of the services that you get in health and education. And I think we've got the balance right there. We fundamentally reject any increase in the rate of or broadening the base of the GST. The Business Council and other groups are running around the country, and many Liberal premiers are talking about wanting to lift the rate or the base of the GST. We absolutely reject that, because what that does is that it really punishes hard-working Australians on low and middle incomes, and it's not a fair outcome for them, and it's not a fair go for our country. To fund and assist with the funding of disability care, you would be aware that we had a small increase in the Medicare levy in the budget, which I think people right across the community understand the need for, so we could fund disability care for a decade and give people certainty. That was a tough decision, but it's one that has been broadly supported in our community, and it's based on the capacity to pay, unlike the sort of proposals that are floating around from certain business groups and Liberal premiers and others